Hey, how's it going? Today we're going to be replacing some castor bearings. And they're in the Permobil M300, as you can see here. And these are the bearings that are inside this little cover right here. After a while of running around in the rain and everything else, things will start squeaking. So you got to replace them at some point. And yes, I'm making this video inside of a van. Things you're going to need, of course, the bearings. Going to need some Allen keys. Got these from Harbor Freight. It was like $6. You actually need metric ones. And then the way I like to do this is with a pair of mallets. And this cap here just pulls right off to reveal your hex bolt. Now, this whole assembly slides out of the bottom, so what you have to do is get this front castor up off the ground so you can drop out the whole assembly. And I like to use the first rubber mallet for that. This one, as you can see, it's a little bit bigger than the other one. It's pretty simple. You just jam it under the tire like this, and if all things happen properly, pull the chair forward. Sometimes. Hang on a second here. And boom, there you go. Now, the chair is off the ground, and this castor can spin freely. Doesn't take a lot of room to get it off there, just a little bit. This takes a 6mm metric end wrench. There you go. And it's pretty easy. All you do is hold onto the wheel with one hand, jam it in here with the other, turn it loose. Should just come right out of there. There we go. There's the bolt came out. There's a little washer that'll come out. Then on top here is sort of a little plug that has some O-rings in it. So I just get out a smaller Allen wrench, kind of stick it in there at an angle, and you can sort of pry this thing up. Now, you're going to see two O-rings in there. Mine had a bit of an issue, and I'm only running one set of O-rings in there. Not a huge deal, but basically what this does is provides a little bit of friction when this rotates so that the whole wheel doesn't flutter at high speed. So basically you get that out of there, and then, I don't know if you noticed, the wheel sort of drops down here a little bit. Oh, there you go, it just kind of fell right out. And from the bottom, you're going to have one of the bearings right there, and of course it's wet because it's raining outside. Should just slide right off, no force required. Move this wheel off to the side here. Then the other bearing is still going to be in here. And to get this other bearing out of here, sometimes it'll kind of come right out. Most of the time though, you're going to have to sort of gently pound it up from the bottom. So I go to the biggest Allen wrench that's in here, unfold that, and then you sort of put it in from the bottom. So it's, here you can see it, sort of up against the edge. Then I take my smaller mallet, and you just sort of tap all around the inside edge. There you go. And it just kind of slowly works its way out of there. There we go. Bearing has removed itself. There it is. So at this point, the next step is pretty easy. You just grab your new bearings. There you go, new bearings. They should be roughly similar in size. These are a 6002-2. Of course I knew I'd forget the number. Hang on here, I've got it in my phone. Looks like, yeah, it's a 6002-2RS. You can omit that one. Or it's a B1. I paid $4.25 each for these. Permobil is going to charge you $35 each. And that, in my opinion, is no bueno. So, if you're lucky enough to have a McGuire Bearing where you live, they're definitely the way to go. There they are, McGuire Bearing. So the reverse part here is pretty easy. We'll start with the bottom. Now, I wouldn't worry about any lubrication on these, they're already good to go. Just slip your bottom one on the shaft there, and it should slide right on. You shouldn't have to really force this at all. If there's no damage or anything like that, it'll just slide right on without a problem. Oh, one thing I forgot that fell out of there. There's this little sleeve that goes between the two bearings. So after it goes in there, this sleeve goes over, and then this goes on top. What we're going to do, so we just put this one on the bottom here, and you just sort of basically plug that up in there like that. Should slide in no problem. Then we're going to drop this little spacer in there. So that goes around the other bearing in there. Now, to hold this thing up, since I'm going to take my standard American ones and just stick them onto the wheel. That provides an appropriate shim to hold it. This top one, in theory, should slide right in. This one sometimes can be a little tight, because you remember we had to pound it out of there. But I can't stress this enough, you gotta go really easy. Use a really small mallet and go really evenly. Now this has a big flat edge, so you can hit on the whole thing all at once, but we're talking really light tapping here. And you gotta do it all the way around each edge. And when you're tapping, you'll get just down below the edge, so it's not quite flush like that. Now this is the part where you really need a different tool than I'm using, but if you're really careful, you can use the edge of this Allen wrench, and you only want to push on these very outside edges. You don't want to push on the middle here where the bearing's at, because if you push through there, you can damage the bearings. So this very outside edge we can use to lightly tap it down in there a little further. And you're going to want to go round and round like this. And then when you get to a certain point, you'll be able to grab the bolt and the washer that was on here. And you'll be able to just sort of thread them down in there. And then here you want to go really easy, not using very much force. Use your Allen wrench again to turn this down in, and that'll pull that bearing right down in there where it needs to go. And I mean, go easy on this. It doesn't take any force at all. My hands aren't very strong, and I'm just barely twisting on this. So you can see it suck down in there. Then when you start to get a tiny bit of tension on it, go ahead and back it out. And you can go ahead and put your little O-ring washer draggy thing on there. And if you look down in there, you'll want to make sure that the center of this lines up with the center of the bearing hole. Those can actually get crooked, but if you tighten it down this way, it should line up perfectly and won't be an issue. So basically just stick that thing down in there, grab your wrench again, and then just same thing, lightly tighten it. And at this point you can pull out whatever shim you're using under the wheel so it can spin freely. And just tighten it down. Go nice and easy, move the castor around, make sure it's not binding. There we go. And then it gets to where it's, pretty tight. Or, it's turning the castor when you turn the wrench. Here, I'm sure there's a specific torque setting. I'm honestly not quite sure what it is. I just kind of do these by feel. So you grab a hold of the tire so it doesn't turn, grab your wrench and give it a little bit of a torque. So you don't want this coming loose. If I had Loctite here with me, I might use it, but I think it should be good. Go ahead and give that a good torque. And if you've done everything right, even though it's torqued down, this wheel should still turn pretty easily. It's going to have a little bit of drag because of those O-rings, but that's what you want. If it doesn't have that, you're going to end up with a bunch of wheel flutter. And if you're going very fast, or you have the high-speed motors like this chair has, that's going to cause a lot of problems. So just basically get it in there, get it pretty tight. And then there you go. You've gotten one of these done. Little cap here. This is just a press in. There's no hinge or anything on it. It just goes right on there. There you go. One side done. 3 more to go. And now that we're done with this one, we can turn the chair back on and pull out our little wheel chock here. There you go. Good to go.